Hello, beautiful friends, Rose family. Welcome back to another video. This is a video, it's all about you, this video. I was going to call it Who Am I? And then I thought, no, then you'll think it's all about me. No, this is a video about who are you? And it's not a market research video. I'm not getting market research and finding out who my ideal audience is. In actual fact, though, it sort of is connected to that because this is a video about authenticity. This is a video about being yourself. And isn't it bizarre that we struggle to be ourselves, that we struggle to know who we are? Who am I really? What have I taken on from someone else and what's mine? So this is an authentic, I was going to say gritty video. I don't know that it's gritty, but it is authentic. And even in the way I decided to record today, I thought I'm not going to do the fancy stuff. I'm not going to sit at my desk, use the back of my phone, the camera, because it's better than the selfie camera. It takes so long to do that and get it all set up and get the lighting right. And I thought, no, I'm going to sit outside so I can be here with this beautiful nature. And I'm going to use the selfie camera because it's really easy. And you know what? I might be more pixelated. That's okay. You will have the noise of nature all around. And I'm half in shade. So that's me being authentic and just going for the authentic path, which is actually about showing up as myself and sharing my message, rather than do I look right? Have I got the lighting right? Is the camera right? Is, all of that stuff, which certainly may make a more enjoyable experience for you. But I really am about keeping it real. And that's what I want to talk about in this video. I don't know if there's going to be a rose come through or even, oh yes, okay, there is going to be a rose line being come through. She just showed up as I said that. So we will be connecting with a rose line being at some point. First, let me tell you about why I've been led to talk about this today. So last week I released a video on receiving, which you may have seen. If you did not see it, and maybe it's the first time you've come across me, hello, I'm Jacquelyn Atkins. I live in northern New South Wales in Australia, and I like to talk about the rose line. I like to channel the rose line. I could say I'm an oracle of the rose line, which in some ways I am, but it also sounds a little bit pretentious, but I channel them. They come through me. And I like to share their wisdom because the purpose of sharing their wisdom is actually to assist you to become more of you. And so they are very much linked into this video, actually. Anyway, last week's video was on receiving. And I mentioned in that video that this is something I used to share a lot about when I talked more about female energy, and my business was about female entrepreneurs showing up as themselves. So I talked a lot about authenticity. And if you can still access my podcast, Biz Alchemy, that's what it's all about. And that's the antithesis to what we often see on social media, and certainly in the online business world, which is where I was mixing at the time. It's where a lot of my clients came from. So I talked about that, and I talked about receiving. And I realized, thank you to those of you who commented, because there were some fabulous comments there. And it made me realize that actually what helps open our receiving channels in the way I talked about in that video is being more authentic. And do you know why that is? Because when you're more authentic, you're in your true resonance. You're in your true frequency. Because when you're embodying something that's a distorted version of you, a belief that's not yours, something that's been forced on you from the outside, and you've not questioned it, and you've just lived that way or made those choices, well, then your frequency is altered. And because you've got an altered frequency, the things that you receive in, that you attract in, are going to not necessarily be true to who you are on your authentic path, on your heart-led path. And so in many ways, to open to receiving more, first, it's an inside job. It's to open to receive more of who you are, to receive more of yourself, and to be in alignment with that self and in alignment with that frequency, because then the frequency you are putting out is going to ensure that as you put out your desires, the universe is going to match it, because those desires are at the frequency that you are embodied. I hope that makes sense. So this felt like a beautiful second part to that video. Also, this week in my membership, Temple of the Rose, the call was about the call was about being authentic. It was about who am I? And this idea came about because I am currently doing a serious Star Portal mystery school with Jacquelyn Starfeather, and I have been at the level of the solar plexus, and I was working with Sekhmet and Mars, the energy. So it's an Egyptian-focused mystery school, and a part of what Jacquelyn had suggested we do is to ask this question: who am I? Who am I? And I loved it so much. I was doing it when I go out there every morning and sit and watch the sunrise over the ocean. And I've been asking that question every day. And some of the answers are really, really quite powerful and beautiful. And so I shared this with the ladies in my membership. Every new moon, I share maybe a task for the moon cycle ahead or a contemplation. And so I put this out and said, okay, ask this question often because I'm really enjoying this process. And so we had a chat about it on the call. And it was really interesting, sort of as we dived in and we sort of veered off that, which is what usually happens with our conversation, to explore this shutting down of self and shutting down of aspects of ourselves to try and fit into what we should be on social media. Now, I used to speak so much about the shoulds when I was working with business energy. And shoulds are always external to you, always, always. When something's coming from the heart, when it's your higher self speaking through you and saying, this is your path, this is the next step, there's no shoulds at all about that. And so it was a really fabulous conversation and giving ourselves permission to be ourselves. And as I said, that was my focus when I was in that world of business and business energy and working with female entrepreneurs. It was, how do you become more of yourself? And of course, we teach what we are learning. And so the few years I taught that, but shared my journey and shared my wisdom and showed up authentically saying, well, here's where I screwed up and this is what I learned from that. And this is how I'm going to show up more authentically in this way. And part of that journey was also me coming off social media, coming off Facebook, coming off Instagram, so that I could just focus on my own path and what was true to me and not be distracted by the way people were saying it should be done, or asking for a ton of money to tell me how it should be done, as opposed to my way, my voice, what lights me up, how do I want to share? So that's I used to talk so much about that. That was the foundation of my work, was how can you be more of who you are? And of course, about 3 years ago, when I got a bit of a whack from the Rose Line saying, are you coming back? Because I'd worked with the Rose Line 20 plus years ago, and with that frequency and writing about the Rose Line, and I was in Provence with a group of ladies who were in my world on retreat with me because they were a part of my business energy world. And suddenly I'm in Provence and with the Magdalene, obviously, and all of the Roseline energy came back through me so strongly. And it was like, I have to go back to this. This is it. I've got to move back into sharing about the Roseline. Although last time I didn't share so publicly about it, but this time it was like, it's time. It's time to just step up and talk about this. And so over the next year, I gradually shifted away from the business energy and then just put my focus completely on sharing the wisdom from the rose line. But ultimately, my message is still the same. And the message of the rose line is still the same. It's how can you could say, how can you peel back the layers to find that true self? But it's also about how can you blossom open into your true self? Because what happens as you blossom open into your true self is what is not true drops away. It just can't be held in that frequency. So often when we start this journey of who am I? Who am I? And very often these are the roles that you've taken on. I'm a mother, I'm a businesswoman, I'm a daughter, I'm a teacher, all of these things. And we realize that they're just things put on to who you actually are. And I had this experience last week. I was sharing with the ladies in the membership. It was this week. Where's this week gone? Easter's thrown it all out. I woke in the morning and I had received a couple of days before, when I asked the question to the rising sun, who am I? And I received everything but nothing. And this morning I was waking and I was in that space where you're just coming out of sleep. And it's in that space where it's like your consciousness is returning, but you haven't yet put on all the garments of who you are. And that's exactly how it felt. And in that moment, I just went, I'm everything, but I'm nothing, because I haven't yet put on those garments. And then as I started to come to a little bit more, I was like, oh yes, I'm holding a membership call today. I'm doing this, I'm that, I'm contacting my daughter. So suddenly in that space, I took on the clothing for me for that day. And this is what we do every day. And it was the most moment, because I just realized that's what we do every day. We make a choice. I'm putting on this article of clothing. I'm putting on this. I'm putting on this. I'm putting on this. And we do it unconsciously very often. And I invite you to have a look at that. When you wake up in the morning and you have those first thoughts, you're a clean slate then. You're a clean slate when you wake up in the morning. You can be anything. And of course, we do have some responsibilities. I'm not going to suddenly stop being a mother, even though I don't have to do those sort of mother duties anymore. I love those duties. I love being a mother. But we have a choice. I choose to be a mother, but I choose not to be a victim in that situation that happened. I could put on the victim clothing and I could carry that around with me all day because I'm really annoyed about that. But I'm going to choose not to. I choose not to be the victim today. I choose to be empowered, and I choose to be a mother, and I choose to be the facilitator and the guardian of my membership. I make these choices, and you are making these choices every single day. And so I invite you on this journey to explore who you are. Thank you, Jacquelyn, for that inspiration. And if you want to check out Jacquelyn's work, her website is wearesacredplanet.com. And she has beautiful journeys as well. She takes journeys to Egypt, and there's so much that she offers. And I'm finding it's particularly inspirational, this journey that I am doing through her content, to learn more about myself. Ultimately, that's what it is, to learn more about who I am. So this is what it is to be authentically you. And it's so interesting because even yesterday I was walking with Heidi, who's my daughter. She's my middle child, my 26-year-old. And we were on the beach. And oh my God, sometimes I just go, God, I wish I had your wisdom when I was 26. And she was saying, she was telling me a story. I can't remember exactly what it was, but she was just saying about, she was telling this story, and then she said, it's amazing how you just get so caught up in that story, and that story is almost like engulfing, and it's everything, and you go through all these emotions to do with this story, and you create stories around the story. And then she said, And in the end, we're just going to die anyway. and and then she went on with that, and she said she'd gone out with some friends in Byron Bay last week, and they were having a really fun time, and they went into a pub and they went to play some pool. And she said, we don't play pool. And we were just mucking around, having fun, and people started to gather around the pool table. And she said, I didn't care. I didn't care that I was hopeless at it. I was just having a good time. But one of my friends, I could see she was cringing with embarrassment that people were watching and she wasn't any good. And all she wanted was the game to be over. And so it was really beautiful as a mother, seeing her have this realization that actually none of it is really important. And the stuff that is important isn't the stuff we make important. And to realize it's all story. It's all story. And so much of who you show up as is also story. You are writing that story every day. So how do you want that story to look? How do you want it to read? And I often receive the comment that when I show up on these videos, it's what people who watch my videos all the way through like, is that I'm showing up authentically. I'm not pretending to be something I'm not. And this has taken practice, I suppose you could say, practice showing up, and also awareness through that journey, especially when I was teaching about the business energy and showing up authentically in your business. It was a big part of what I learned. And so I'm practicing what I've been preaching. But what I also love about this is that if you don't resonate with me, you just switch off at the beginning. And that's fine, because you'll find someone that you do resonate with, and they might be talking about exactly the same stuff, but they have a different frequency. And that frequency is in alignment with where you are now. So for me, and this is what I used to talk about before, it's not about numbers. It's not about quantity. It's about quality. Okay, and you get the quality the more authentically you show up. And this isn't just to do with business. This is to do with your life. So do you want 100 friends who are not really friends? Or would you rather have half a dozen who are really connected with you, who are resonant with you, who uplift you? This is what life is about. And this is the life you have. The more you are true to yourself, the more you ask this question, who am I? So I mentioned that there was a Roseline being I was aware of, and she is the one who also came in during my membership call this week. And she is such a beautiful example of holding the frequency of who am I. I mean, all the Roseline beings that I channel, and especially the oracles, the main oracles, they fully embodied who they were, even if their story has been distorted by history. At the time, woof, they were there. They were fully in their power, and they did what they had to do regardless. Regardless of the consequences of what that meant, and in some cases death, as was the case for this one. And so this being is Joan of Arc, who always comes in with a very powerful solar plexus energy. She's so strong in who she is, and she always was. And, she wasn't just a peasant girl that decided one day she was going to lead the army of France. She was trained in the priestess ways, and she was fully aware of who she was, of what her role was. She was a visionary. She was a channel. She had a foot in both worlds. So she received direct inspiration and direct guidance, but she also took action on it. And that's why I often feel like her solar plexus is so strong, because she didn't just write about it, which is the role of some of them, of some of the Roseline beings. She went out there and she took action, like actual physical action. I often feel that she, and she has shared this too in her channelings, that she was more of a symbol of hope, because she held this such a powerful frequency, and she held this sacred Jesus Mary frequency within her, Mary Magdalene Jesus frequency, or the Mary, you could say. That was her sacred union. That was her harmonic resonance. She held that so powerfully. And so in many ways, when she was riding with the army, that's what she held. She was a beacon. She was a symbol. She was a symbol of hope, of authenticity, of sacred union, of empowerment. And whenever you need, when you need a bit of that, when you need some guidance about being authentic, about finding who you truly are, Joan's your girl. Like, she's just amazing. And I'm looking forward to returning to Orleans this year when I'm in Egypt. Gosh, is that something I don't know about? When I'm in Europe, I haven't been to Orleans since 2006, and I visited the cathedral there. It's not dedicated to her, but it is dedicated to her. Like, internally, it's all about Joan. And I'm just going to do a day trip from Paris because I really feel called to go back to that land and receive her codes. So anyway, you'll be hearing more about that here. Let me just see. Okay, she's just going to guide you through a little meditation. It won't be a long meditation. Famous last words. I don't think it'll be a long meditation. So closing your eyes, and let's receive Joan's energy in. So be aware of her in front of you. And be aware of this amazing flame, I would call it, in her solar plexus that's lighting up your solar plexus. And thinking of your solar plexus as SOULAR, that came through in one of my clients' activations this morning, because Joan came in there as well. She's very much around at the moment. So feeling this, this solar energy, the fire of your soul in your solar plexus, your soul, your higher self, your authentic presence. And feel how that is your power place. It's not something external, it's something internal. This was her power place. And Joan's placing her hands in front of your solar plexus, in front of that flame. And as she does that, that flame gets brighter. And what that flame does in your solar plexus, it connects in with your heart. It connects in with your truth, with who you are, with your blueprint. Because that's where that frequency is held in your heart. It knows exactly who you are. It's here. And so this channel between your heart and your solar plexus is being amplified as Joan holds her hands in front of your solar plexus. It's opening this channel. It's drawing on your heart energy, your true essence, and it's feeding it into your I am of the solar plexus. You have existed in a world of mimicry for far too long. This has been amplified in recent times. One of the negative aspects of your social media, to look at how others are doing things and mimic them, even though it may feel wrong, out of alignment, hard, a push energy. But still you do it because you think that you can only find yourself, find your truth, which is your success, by doing this. No. No. There is only one of you, and no one knows your path except you. No one knows your way except you. No one can tell you how to be in your power except you. Stop looking outside. And certainly stop looking outside with that which is not resonant. Of course, there are teachers there for you. You are beings of connection after all. But they must resonate. Their words must be true to you. Their frequency must be true to you. And these teachers do not necessarily have to be teachers as such. These teachers can come in the form of friends. It can come in the form of strangers. It can come in the form of situations. But there is a resonance there. And while you are in that resonance, you are being supported to find your own power. If anyone tells you what to do, look the other way. You can feel into it, but you must come up with the answer. Is that me? Is that right for me? Is that true for me? Because often their source of power may come from an external power and not their own internal power. So discernment is very important. Trust yourself. Trust what bubbles up for you as to your truth, as to which garments you choose to put on in the morning, because they are a reflection of your energy and the way you wish to live your life. And this will change because you are ever evolving. So these choices must be made consciously. Who do you choose to be? Who are you today? Because who are you today may be different to who you are in 1 year. But if you are continuously asking this question, the answers will evolve with you. Feel your solar plexus. Feel the fire burning, the fire that is transmuting that which is not you. And perhaps that is what you wish to do. To write down what is not you and to put it into the fire. Or if you wish, simply focus on who are you and let that blossom into the rose so that which is not you cannot be held in the frequency anymore. Do what feels right. Your light is needed. Your power is needed. Your true vibration is needed. Reclaim it, be it, live it, and love it. Hotsesteni ranle pui, rane tukane sunete, rane suakane sa, aya anta, howe anakisto, howe anaka, halende, humpwana seta. And now Joan is placing one hand over your heart and one over your solar plexus, connecting your true essence, your true frequency with your I am in your solar plexus. It is time. It is time to be you. Now how you feel your presence fading, or her presence, I should say, fading out of the space. Although as she was, that's why I was distracted, because at the same time she was saying that she is here for you. Call her in any time that you wish to really connect in with her solar power, and she will share that with you. So returning into your body. Got all these little midges around me. I'm probably be covered in bites. Unless Joan's power kept them away. I'd love to hear in the comments your experience of that little activation with Joan, but also what is coming up for you around this. And maybe you would like to declare in the comments, you know, what is not you? What is going that is not you? What garment will you choose to not put on tomorrow when you wake up? It is always your choice. Always your choice. How empowering is that? Sometimes difficult, but incredibly empowering. Thank you for joining myself and Joan, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Rose blessings to you.